Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 36 of Project Ozone 3. Yesterday, we automated most of the components in our Infinity Catalyst, and in fact, if we look in at Avaricia, we can see that we have 137,000 Ultimate Stews, 39,000 Cosmic Meatballs, and is that 6,000-ish Ender Pearls? That's mostly just proportional to how long it takes or how many items are in the recipe, right? Basically the rate of insertion is approximately fixed between all three, and since this recipe has the most items, it takes the longest to make them. But at any rate, that's plenty sufficient. 6,000 being our bottleneck. The only thing it's used for are these Infinity Catalysts. So today, let's tackle the last bit, which is the Ultimate Singularity. So the Ultimate Singularity is made of 81 different singularities. Of these, I already bookmarked all the ones that don't have an EMC value. So the majority of these are just like, 9,000 blocks of coal, 9,000 blocks of iron, 9,000, well, there's one that doesn't have an EMC value. There's another one that doesn't, but basically most of these have EMC values. I think it's, let's count, 2 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 a row. So of the 81, only 20 of them don't have an EMC value. I think the solution for the ones that do have an EMC value is pretty trivial, right? We can just export bust the item into a quantum compressor, and it makes singularities. Great, easy, perfect. For the ones that don't have an EMC value, you have to get a little bit more creative. The good news is, like 90% of these are blocks. I think all but one, actually, is a block. And, we have our block duplicating machine. So I think the plan for the blocks is just to spawn them as blocks and export them into quantum compressors as well. And then for the one that isn't a block, let's see what our options are. We can either duplicate the ore, which we can smelt into 2 ingots, or does it have a block form? It does. That's probably easier then. We'll just duplicate the block, unpack it, and stuff it into the singularity. So end of the day, it's a lot of setting up the same stuff over and over again, which sucks for me, but you get edited videos, so it's not a problem for you. However, I ran into a small problem. I forgot to craft the quantum compressors we need for this last night before, I logged off after I recorded last episode. And today I logged on and I was like, all right, let's start this up before, the recording. I expect it'll take a little while. And, yeah, that's what I did. So it's crafting. I started it maybe half an hour ago, and we are done with 200 of the 1,000 plus total wafers we have to make. And I forgot that it takes wafers. And let's see, this machine? The wafer making machine is literally the slowest thing in the world. Yeah, it's like 10 seconds, and I think does it make 3 wafers at least? I think it does. But, for advanced wafers, it only makes 1 at a time. Or the basic wafer, it makes 3 at a time. Anyways, this ETA here is wrong. It's going to take, at the rate it's going to take, another hour or 2 to finish. And I'm not the type of person that likes to wait around for an hour or 2 for machines to finish. Which gives us a few options. First of all, we can just run this machine in parallel. Put up to 5 of them. I guess up to 4, because I don't think you can insert the bottom. Around this ME interface. And if we really have to, we can get clever with phantom faces as, short-range tesseracts, basically. But I don't want to do that. I want to do something that's a bit more flexible, because I think later we might run into this similar type of bottleneck, like one-off production requiring a slow machine bottlenecks. And to address that, I want to make a tick accelerator. So the tick accelerators for machines functionally are kind of like these imaginary time blocks for plants. It just makes it run faster, more ticks. It makes it do more work per tick, like these. So there are, let's see, Project E has a very nice tick accelerator called the Watch of Time, Flowing Time or something. But as far as I can tell, it's disabled in this pack. Probably for balance reasons, but I don't know. Nonetheless, we can't use it. It's by far the easiest one to set up. Let's see. Yeah, it's not in here. In fact, even the pedestal that you have to put it on isn't in here. So we can't do that. That leaves, as far as I know, the only other option in the pack is the Astral Sorcery Take Accelerator, which is the Horologium ritual. So to do, rituals, we need to attune celestial crystals to the appropriate constellation. And since we're doing Horologium, we have to first find it in the night sky. So, why is there no weather sounds? Oh, I muted it when I went to, let's turn this back on. I muted it when I went to Jupiter because it was like hella loud, and then I just never unmuted it. Alright, anyways, so the last time I saw Horologium was day 1445, and it comes out every 28 days if memory serves me right. So let's do some math and figure out when it'll be next. Quick correction, Horologium comes out every 36 days, not 28. Anyways, so what we can do is we can take 1445, divide by 36, and we look for the remainder, which, according to my calculator, is 5. Then we have to find what is the next day number when you take the basically mod 36 or modulo, whole number division, and then you look at the remainder, not the value. Anyways, according to my math, which is notorious for being wrong, I expect it to be up on day 2345. So we have like 18 more days to go through. So unfortunately, if I just hit this while it's nighttime, it actually rewinds time. It brings it back to the previous night. So what I have to do is I have to sleep. You can see I've been AFK on the server a while. I've sat through a few backups, and geez, my backups are huge now. But whatever. So yeah, 23, 28. You get the point. With any luck, on day 2345, we'll see Horologium up in the sky. Alright, it's day 2345. Let's make it nighttime. And hey, would you look at that? My math was right for once. So, to attune crystals to it, right, we first have to attune our attunement altar to it. Alright, so apparently I only had 7 full perfect celestial crystals, but that should be enough for now. So you just throw it onto the attunement altar while it's humming, and it'll, just like you attune yourself, you can attune crystals. And since this process takes an hour or 2 in-game per crystal, what we can do is, before it, turns to daytime, is we hit our ritual stone again. It rewinds time, remember? So then we can continue doing these attunements. I think it rewinds a little bit too far, though. So we have to, wait for the constellation to actually come up, which takes a minute. But yeah, that way, if you have to do, I think you can maybe do like 5 or 6 in one night if you're working continuously. But this way, you can do, you can basically indefinitely leave a single, day's set of stars in the sky, which is nice. After attuning all of our crystals, we want to make at least one of them into we want to leave at least one of them as an attuned crystal and turn at least 4 of them, turn some of them into collector crystals and leave most of them as just regular attuned crystals. The way it works is that you need a attuned crystal to run the ritual, but the number of celestial collector crystals you have powering it kind of determines the effect of the ritual. Technically, you don't need any, and you will get like a weak ritual. Well, for some rituals it's that weak, but for this one it'll be a little weak. And then as you add more and more collector crystals, it goes from being weak to ridiculously overpowered. So yeah, for starters, I think I'm gonna go for like 4 collector crystals and leave the rest as attuned crystals, just in case I break some. We're also going to need to make a ritual pedestal, because that's what, actually does the ritual, as well as a set of ritual anchors. The ritual anchor. Sure. So like most things in Astral Sorcery, the ritual pedestal needs a marble multi-block around it, and once that's done, you can place your attuned celestial crystal, I believe, in the ritual pedestal, and the ritual begins. This is running the ritual, and to demonstrate, let's, try something like a furnace. I'm not even sure if the effects will be visible at this rate. But what we should see is that the cooking will every now and then speed up a tiny bit. Yeah, I can't see a difference. That's because we are basically not accelerating this ritual. So most rituals, Horologium included, is very weak when it's not accelerated. So let's accelerate the ritual. To do so, we need to pump starlight into it. And the best way to gather the starlight is from these celestial collector crystals we made. Now each of these also needs its own multi-block, and it has to be at least 15 or 16 blocks away from any other one, otherwise they start cannibalizing each other. So that's why I built a large platform here. It has enough room to support 8 celestial crystals around. Basically each one is, going to be in the center of its own chunk. That way they're exactly 16 blocks spaced apart. So after building our celestial crystal multi-block, we put the actual crystal on it, and then we have to link the crystal to the pedestal. Now the light range the linking has a range of 15, and they're 16 blocks apart, so we need to put a lens in between. The added benefit of the lens is we can use it to get around a small line of sight issue potentially. But anyways, once you line it up, or once you send light to it, you'll see that some of the light bounces out in a random direction. And all you have to do is figure out what direction that is, and on the outer marble arch layer, build 2 blocks up, put another lens there, and then link that lens back into the ritual pedestal. And you'll want to do that 5 times, because once you do it once, you'll see it happens again. And the reason why I like to use a lens here to redirect this light is if for whatever reason you have to build a pedestal here, to bounce light back, you can keep, if you were able to go directly from this crystal to that collector, this would get in the way. So anyways, you just have to these reflections back into the collector until something happens. And I think it's always exactly 5 times. So there's 2. Here's 3. 4. Now the position of these is random every time. So if I were to take the crystal out and put it back in, the positions of these 5 light beams would be re-randomized. We can work around that to a limited degree by just putting, basically putting pillars everywhere, right? And if all of these, no matter where they go, are bouncing light back into the central crystal, that would deal with it. But for now, I'm not planning on having to reset the ritual. Whoopsies. Well, I just reset the ritual. So as I was saying, now that I've done this, when it spins back up, oh cool, it retains its light beams. Maybe that's new in this version of Actual Sorcery. It didn't used to. Anyways, once you reflect your 5 light beams back, you see that the symbol Horologium shows up in the ritual, and that's demonstrating that's working faster. Another thing I did was I put a ritual anchor up here. It has to be, I think, exactly 4 air blocks above the ritual pedestal. So just keep that in mind. Oh, and this celestial collector crystal has to be linked to the same constellation as the ritual anchor. But I think that's pretty obvious. So anyways, what we can do is now link that to link the ritual anchors. The link, as long as it's not interdimensional, will work, and we can demonstrate that it's working by running our furnace test. This time it should run a lot faster, and we can see it's 5 times faster, maybe 10 times faster, and that's just with a single collector crystal. So I'm going to set up 4 of them for the time being, and we can see how much faster this goes. Alright, we're all linked up. There's starlight flowing all over the place like a spider. One thing I forgot to mention is that when making the lens, it uses a crystal. It's important that you use a max size crystal, or a max statted one. I think the purity and cutting affect like the loss of light so basically imperfect lens causes loss of starlight, and I think size determines how many you get in one craft. So because I use a size 900 lens, you get 11 lenses per craft, which makes the recipe a lot less obnoxious. Anyways, last thing we have to do is once again link the ritual anchor to this ritual anchor and test its speed. It's noticeably faster than when we were running just one, right? So this is maybe 20-ish times faster than when, than just a regular furnace. So that is the power of rituals, especially the Horologium ritual. So anyways, the initial plan for this wasn't to accelerate a furnace, because we already have one of tick furnaces, and then I doubt we can accelerate those. What we wanted to accelerate was this stupid little, let's see, where was it? This machine, right? Yeah, it's still, we spent quite a bit of time, maybe 45 minutes, setting up all those ritual things, and this stupid machine is still at it. So we can just put the ritual anchor anywhere near it, and then link the two. Unfortunately, you have to hold the linking tool in your hand the whole time to do it. Otherwise, you lose the settings on it. So we have to start up. You have to link from the sender to the receiver. We start up here. Make sure we're not selecting anything. Select that ritual anchor. Fly all the way down here. And select this ritual anchor. Link them. And please accelerate. I will be very sad if it doesn't. So we see the particle effects on a bunch of blocks, but not necessarily this one. Let me check the configs. I think I know what's going on. Alright, so our problem is twofold. First of all, the Horologium ritual is configured to only accelerate a maximum of 30 tile entities at a time. And if we look here, there are way more than 30 tile entities in range. So I think what's happening is it's like, it's accelerating, say, this sag mill, which we can test, I suppose. Can you sag mill that? Yeah. Well, I guess this might already be a one-tick operation, but this is a block actually that was definitely accelerating. So we can see that once we let its power buffer go up, this also exposed our second problem I didn't anticipate. This compressor is now way fast. But as you can see, it runs out of power. And that's because we're accelerating the compressor, but the compressor, we're either not accelerating the energy cable, or it has an energy input limit that is that we're reaching that, just accelerating the machine doesn't fix. So it kind of leaves me at a blank. What I can do is, I know the ritual has an exactly 8 block range. So if I place it, let's see, exactly 8 blocks from this, so if we count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to try linking it from here. There's less stuff in range, so maybe it'll end up hitting our circuit fabricator. I don't know. Well, I was able to solve one of our two problems by putting the ritual anchor further away. I was able to get it to accelerate our circuit fabricator. Now the problem is, the same problem we had with our compressor here, right? While it has power, it runs fast, but then it runs out of power because it has a per tick input limit. I'm going to try running aluminum wire into it. Maybe that gets around the input limit. No. And one last idea is, can I directly put a capacitor in the power slot? What if I get rid of the external power connection? Doesn't seem to be taking power from a capacitor. That's a shame. Alright, so I found that if I give it a Galacticraft or Exoplanets battery, it will drain the battery fast enough to be able to run. So I guess the challenge is, I made some of these, very large batteries, and I guess the challenge is I need to find a way to charge and place these batteries into the battery slot. which I fear may not be automatable. So I guess I'm not quite sure what we can do. I mean, I guess what I can do is when I need to run this machine, I can just like manually drop batteries in, but that seems a little ridiculous. But at the same time, I don't have to run this machine very often, and if I just manually put in batteries for like a minute or two, we'll make all the wafers we need, and then we can maybe move on from this disaster of a project. All right, well, good news and bad news. Turns out the battery slot is automatable. Basically the side with the green dot, you can interact with it with an item conduit. Downside is these batteries, they're not accepted in a wired charger of any form. Not this one, not the not this one. And I mean, well, here's a not full. Wait. Oh, it is accepted in this charger. I guess it wasn't accepting it earlier because it was full. That makes sense if I think about it. Hold on. Let me try using the energetic confuser then. All right. After much trying, I'm not convinced this is possible. This slot, while it is insertable, so if I put a battery in here, when it's done charging, it will automatically insert into that slot. It doesn't appear to be extractable, which means now I have a dead battery stuck here. I'm trying to extract basically every side of this block now. I mean, I suppose I'm not extracting the side with the ME interface, but yeah, it's just not possible. We can. I mean, I guess for sake of completeness, I'll try to extract this side as well. I have a chest here inserting on brown as well, so if this were extractable, it'd be coming into this chest. So yeah, while you can automate the insertion of a battery, it really doesn't appear like you can automate the removal of a battery. And we're even extracting out the bottom to get this slot, right? And if it were extractable out the bottom, it would be inserted into our ME system. So I question why there's a automation insertable battery slot, but not an automation removable slot. Anyways, what I can do, so for the time being, I can just put a massive battery in there, let it run, finish a job at hand, and the massive battery lasts long enough that I only have to replace it every now and then. For what it's worth, though, out of curiosity, I saw that apparently you can repair the batteries with mending. I enchanted one of them with mending, and it doesn't work as advertised. So what happens is if I head over here, I can repair the battery, but it takes a day. It's like it repairs the metadata, but it doesn't repair the MBT data, which is what what has the actual energy amount in it. So yeah, there we go. Once you pick it back up, like it takes the damage back. I think the energy or the metadata is used only to draw that bar to give you a visualization of how full the battery is. Well, that was a fun exercise in fertility. So now that we've wasted all this time actually just making the stupid quantum compressors, I think that's part of it too, we can finally put all these components together and craft 2 stacks of quantum compressors. First stack, and I may have some extra materials in here I don't have enough room in my inventory for. Second stack. Uh-oh. What am I missing? There we go. Second stack. Alright, so with 2 stacks of quantum compressors, we can now start making singularities. So I've built, but not yet configured, all the compressors for all the singularities that have EMC value. My plan is I have a interface feeding, the 8x compressed obsidian. That'll be our energy source. And then those go into an array of energy condensers. I decided I'd rather do this over having an export bus per quantum compressor. For one, I think it reduces load on the AE system, which might reduce TPS lag. Unsure. That'll be a secondary benefit. But the main benefit is to put an export bus on each of these quantum compressors. There's 63 of them here. I think we'll use 61 of them. But yeah, that'll take 61 to 63 channels, and this takes one channel. So anyways, I think this is a bit simpler. So my plan is to go to each energy condenser and just assign it, its block. So this is block of coal, this is block of iron, this is block of lapis, so on and so forth. So I'll do the top row, I guess, on camera, and then I'll just do the rest, off camera, because it's basically the same repetitive steps. So that's those. Those feed into the quantum compressor, which compresses up to 1 unit worth, and then we just have to provide it with power. Now these things do use a fair bit of power, but I think that's acceptable. We generate a fair bit of power after all. Where do I want to run? I want to run power on this layer. This is also, I'm definitely taking advantage of the fact that Ender IO conduits can share, block space with each other. Anyways, I'll wire the rest later. So these are now compressing into singularities, and it's doing it pretty darn quickly even. Once it's done making these singularities, I think my plan is to eventually store them over into a drawer system, over in this area here. But for now, I'm content just, we'll make the 64 and hold them in the, compressor. Why are you not making singularities? I have blocks of coal. Is that not how I make a coal singularity? Block of coal, ultimate catalyst. Oh, it's probably doing the thing where I have to break it. Darn it. Alright, yeah, breaking it and replacing it fixed it. I hope that doesn't happen often, because some of these in the ones deep inside are very difficult to access. I intentionally went with a 7x9 instead of 8x8 so that I can always click the innermost ones. But I'm hoping that, if one of those in there I have to fix, it'll be kind of a pain. I really hope that doesn't break. And with that, all singularities that have, are made from blocks with an EMC value are done. The ones that don't have items flowing are probably because they have a full stack of the output already. So it makes these are very fast, right? Because it transports 64 items basically per tick, I think, maybe per couple of ticks. So yeah, it makes singularities, it makes singularities faster than we're making wafers, for what that's worth. So that's the easy half. So for the remaining 20-ish singularities, our plan was to spawn them all from our spawners, and I've since, animated, oh, that one's empty, animated one of each, captured it, and put it in its spawners. And it's raining blocks. Oh, that one fell off the edge. Oh well, whatever. I think the total spawn area is equal to the size of the platform, and then if they bump each other in midair, every now and then one of them will fall off the edge entirely. But it's right now this thing perfectly fits in one chunk, so I don't want to make it any bigger. I mean, not that it really matters. Whatever. Either way, we're spawning a lot of mobs now. Thankfully, it appears like our fluid system here is keeping up. We're able to melt and convert experience just about fast enough. Cool. So now all we have to do is, take these blocks and configure all the export buses. Now I'm noticing it's getting a little bit laggy. I have checked the TPS and it says it's at 20, but once you include overhead from world event handlers, we're probably functionally a little bit under 20 TPS, which is why you see the mobs freeze up from time to time. But very little I can do about it now. Alright, so the setup for this set of quantum compressors looks slightly different, but it's functionally the same as, our first set. We just have export buses, sending them into the machines, and here they get turned into, their singularities. Now, these will be a lot slower than, the energy condensers, because the blocks are just produced slower. But there's some things we can do about it if it turns out to be a problem. Like we can run more than one spawner in our spawn tower there with each of these metals. So anyways, we have one left to do, and that's the Lunar Block. But before I do that, I think I figured out why the machines sometimes get stuck. So where they like have input but they don't take it. These compressors, they always take a catalyst in their recipes, and it's usually this ultimate catalyst, but the item can actually go in both slots. And if you've ever put the item in this slot, it'll break the machine until you break it, until you break and replace it. So since I just did that, I broke this quantum compressor. So now if I send lunar blocks to here, let's see, this will unpack them, send them into here, and see how it doesn't work. But if I simply break that machine and put it back, and this time I don't put I only put the catalyst in that slot, it'll work again. So let's put our translocator on, and you'll see that now it works. So yeah, the trick is when setting up your quantum compressors, don't accidentally put your catalyst in this slot. Unfortunately, that's a slot it goes in if you shift click it in. So just something to be mindful of. Cool. So with that, all of our singularities are crafting. The quest for them calls for, let's check the quest book. I think it calls for a stack. So why don't we, just so that I can complete the quest, because there's a lot of them and they were a lot of rack, why don't we wrap up this episode here, and we're not quite making the infinity catalyst yet, or the ultimate singularity and infinity catalyst yet, but we're really close. We have all the components of the ultimate singularity ready. So why don't we wrap up this episode here? We'll come back next time and finish the infinity catalyst and infinity ingots. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.